Welcome back. I thought today that I would share some couture hand embroidery techniques with you. You might remember from last video, I'd started working in tambour predominantly on this piece and I just wasn't happy with it. So I've been doing a little experimenting. I've done this one flower with stranded cotton and I'm feeling happier. It's more the look that I want for this video. Sorry, not for this video, for this garment. Do you know how hard it is to actually talk and stitch and think at the same time? It really is not as easy as it looks. All right, so I'm going to share with you how to do a fly stitch leaf today. So we start at the tip of the leaf and we do quite a long stitch down the central vein. And the reason for that is it sets up the angle of our leaf that we're going to follow. Now I'm right-handed, so I like to work from the left side to the right side, but you can do it in any way that you like. You'll notice that I'm starting one side higher than the other, and that is because my leaf is tilting to one side. And there's nothing worse, I believe, than stiff, straight central leaves. So I always like my leaves to be leaning to the left or the right a little and having a little bit of movement present. All right, so we're coming up on the left, we're jumping over to the right, then we come up right underneath that first stitch in the middle. Now you can see that I've got a big loop here. I've got my finger in it and I'm making sure that that is getting caught down, and then I'm jumping over the other side of that leaf, but only a millimeter, like a tiny little bit, and that anchors that last stitch in place. Then I'm going to continue on. The other reason I love these leaves is because you can make them from fat to thin as you go. And they're really versatile. They're quick, they're easy. I think they look really effective. I often use them in my work. Got a knot in my thread, which is very annoying. There we go. And because this is going to be the embroidered collar for a day dress, then I can wash it. And this stitch I find washes really well. So you might remember from last week's video that I was not loving all of this beautiful tambour work that I've done. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It was just too formal for this dress that I want it to be a day dress. So I did this little flower. I did keep the sequins because I quite like these sequins. They're not too blingy. Some of these are reflective French, but the rest of them are matte. So I kept the sequins and just did a little long and short stitch flower, and I'm feeling a lot more excited again. I feel renewed energy. It's like, yeah, I think that's more the look that I want. So that's why I thought today I would trial a little leaf, see if I like it, and share the technique with you at the same time. You can do your stitches as close together or as far apart. I have worked this stitch with two threads, but I actually personally prefer to work it with one, but that very much depends on what you're stitching and your preferences and practicalities and all of that. You can see now that I'm making my stitches wider to reflect the shape of the leaf. If you desperately need to know what thread I'm using, it's Anchor and it's number 1041. I love hand stitching. It is so relaxing and so therapeutic. It's where I started with embroidery and then went on a huge, huge journey into most techniques and genres in the couture world. But yeah, it's got a beautiful place for me in my heart, and I hope that you get lots of um, satisfaction, relaxation, stitch therapy, as I say to my students, through your hand embroidery as well. Now you can see here that I'm a little bit stuck because this leaf is really coming from underneath those sequins. So on one side, I've got choices here. I can move the central vein, curl it round to here, and then just can, keep stitching in here, which is what I think I will do. I'm going to try something just because I can. I'm going through the whole of that sequin. So I'll actually be stitching over the sequins. Let's see if this works. Yeah, I'm going to run with it just because I can. Now my spacing's changed, it's bigger and I've got a gap here, but I'll show you that's not a problem. Let's see if I want to do that again. See, something new as I'm talking to you, just through playing and experimenting. And if I don't like it, I'm stitching with one thread, so it's absolutely no issue to undo it and do it again. See, I can't jump down to the next sequin. I have to go back in that same hole that I used before, which is not ideal, but let's see what I get. Ew, don't do that. It's getting a bit tight in that sequin. Oh no, that worked. That stitch is too big. And then I'll just finish off, I think, with a straight stitch here. I'm going to leave that leaf because I'm actually quite happy with it. Let me put the white cloth under it so you can see there. You can see that I've got a gap here, and a tiny gap here. I'm not going to bother about any of them because in the grand scheme of this very busy embroidery, no one's even going to notice that. But if I did want to fix it, I can come back and just do straight stitches in between. When I was first learning how to do this leaf, I used to have to do that a lot because I couldn't get my stitches quite even and perfect as I was working on two different angles and navigating, narrower and wider stitches at the same time. But now I get it fairly even when I'm not talking on video to you. So I'm finishing mine off with a French knot. One, it's just a signature move of mine, and two, I'm working on a reasonably large frame. I've got my threads sitting all over the frame here, so there's no way that I want to flip this frame upside down to cut my thread off. So there you go, fly stitch leaf, one of the favorite stitches in my toolbox of couture hand embroidery stitches.